Hey everybody, having an unboxing today. This one is the Vivo Nix A. So this is a lower variant of the Vivo Nix that I unboxed and did a hands-on about 2 weeks ago. So this is like the weaker version. This is like the Carmelo to that one's LeBron. This is the Kobe to the Vivo Nix's Jordan. So this is the Nix A. The main differences are, instead of a Snapdragon 845 processor in that phone, this is a Snapdragon 710. And instead of 8 gigs of RAM, this one only has 6 gigs of RAM. And there is no in-display fingerprint reader like on that phone. This one has a traditional fingerprint reader on the back. Otherwise, everything's the same. Same 6.5-inch display. Same almost bezel-less, completely bezel-less design. Same pop-up selfie camera and the same build. So I actually purchased this with my own money because I have not touched a Snapdragon 710 phone yet, so I figured I wanted to test a Snapdragon 710 just to see how it compares to 845. It should still be pretty powerful because a Snapdragon 660 is pretty good. And I also got red color just to differentiate with the other Vivo Nix I had, which is black. So looks pretty nice. There is none of that kind of rainbow matrix color scheme from the black Vivo Nix. As you can see, there's a fingerprint reader on the back because this one doesn't have an in-display fingerprint reader. The phone feels exactly the same in the hand. So let's check out the box. Oh, okay, so the case is also red. I'm not a big fan of this case. It adds a little bit of bulk. And this rubber feels a little bit too rubbery. I prefer, if I have to put on a case, I prefer something like this, like the OnePlus case, which is a sand, kind of like it's a more grippy texture, like a sandstone texture. Or I want leather, like this case. This is one of my favorite cases I ordered off Taobao. It's called Keezy Home for the iPhone 10, and it feels good. Like leather, just there's a good texture to it. So I'm not a big fan of this rubber case. It feels weird. I'm not gonna use this. So exact same packaging as the standard Vivo Nix. There's a charging brick, an earbud. I'm not gonna take it out. It's the same thing. And what's in here? A cable. It's a USB-C cable, and instruction booklet. So that is it. Pretty standard packaging, exactly the same as the other Vivo Nix. I'm not gonna get too in depth with this phone because I already did a hands-on with the real Vivo Nix. This is the Kobe version. So I'm gonna test out the Snapdragon 710, run it through some benchmarks just to see how powerful it is, and play some games on it. Actually, I'm not gonna take much photos because the camera is exactly the same. So everything's exactly the same except for the processor really and RAM. So I'm gonna test speed, power, all that. And I think I'm gonna like this fingerprint reader better because I find the on-screen fingerprint reader, even though it's a lot faster on the Nix than the X21, it still has a slightly higher percentage of like error. Like I'll put my finger on it and it won't scan. Whereas this, I'm pretty sure it'll work like 99.9% of the time. So I will be back. Hey everybody, so back with the Vivo Nix A. So I played around with the phone for about 3.5 hours now. So my early impressions is that if you are a heavy gamer, like if you play graphic intensive games like Tekken or PUBG Mobile, Player Underground, 710, it's a little bit weak compared to the Snapdragon 845 obviously. I actually ran some benchmarks too, and yeah, the score falls behind pretty bad. So we'll go into Geekbench first. Compared to, I don't have the other Vivo Nix with me anymore unfortunately, but I do have a OnePlus 6 which runs Snapdragon 845 with 6 gigs of RAM, so the same specs as the top tier Vivo Nix. So you compare the two benchmark score, you see that the Vivo Nix A with the 710, it's quite a bit lower than the OnePlus 6, especially in multi-core. Now single core is not that big of a difference, but multi-core, it's where it matters. So we'll go into another app, the 3D benchmark, the Slingshot Extreme test, which is a really graphic intensive test, and you see it struggles quite a lot. 1842 compared to the 4650 on the OnePlus 6's Snapdragon 845. So this is an 845 on my right, 710 on the left. And even as you're running the benchmarks, you can see that the 710 is really struggling to keep up with the frame rates. We'll go into one more app, the GFX. GFX is even more crazy graphic intensive. Another game that really just pushes all your phone's all the graphic processor, just to test how everything runs. And you see that the A45 can handle stuff at 60 frames per second. Vivo Nex A, it had to drop down to 28 frames per second. So now let's compare the Vivo Nex A with the Snapdragon 710 to the Huawei P20 Pro, which runs the Kirin 970, which is an older chipset now. And even despite the Kirin 970 being almost a year old, it still beats the Snapdragon 710 pretty badly in the benchmark scores. But again, so these are all just benchmark numbers. If you're using day to day, you're not going to notice a big issue. You're not going to notice any issue with this phone really. But I was playing Player Underground Online earlier, and then you see that it wouldn't allow me to go with any graphic mode other than low. It forced me to use the lowest graphic mode. It wouldn't let me go even medium or high. But then once you go into low mode, it runs pretty smoothly. I didn't really encounter any stutters. Granted, I only played about 25 minutes of the game. I'm just not that good at it. But I'm not a big gamer. So now you go back to normal smartphone usage. All the stuff I said about the Vivo Nex still applies here. This is a 6.6-inch OLED display, and it looks beautiful. Its colors are vibrant, and it's just amazing to have something this large. Like just having a screen this big, it's very immersive. So I'm gonna do my usual thing, go into Instagram. Ooh, LeBron is squatting. That's a wide stand. So you see, it's just very impressive to see Instagram stories on such a large screen. So the selfie camera still works the same way. All I have to do is press a button and it pops up just like that, and still seems pretty sturdy. So everything, it's about the same compared to the top tier Vivo Nex, except the processor. The RAM, I haven't really seen any performance issues. Again, during normal phone usage, when I'm actually gaming, then I see a little bit. But then if I'm going on Facebook and stuff and I'm jumping between apps, everything still moves pretty smoothly. I haven't noticed that apps are closing in the background more frequently than other phones. Still, just everything loading pretty smoothly. So now, the phone doesn't have a fingerprint reader on the screen, which is fine because I actually think, even though it's a lot better on the Vivo Nex than on the X21, it's still not as fast as a fingerprint reader. This is still a much faster way to unlock. Now the problem is this phone doesn't have face unlock because you need the front facing camera for that, and it wouldn't make sense for them to pop up every time. So that means when you're using this phone flat on the desk, you have to pick up the phone to unlock, or you can double tap on the screen, swipe, and do your pin. So that's a little bit annoying because other phones now, like a OnePlus 6, now has face unlock, which unlocks basically immediately. Now granted, it's not the most secure face unlock, but I like it to let me unlock when it's on a desk. So I think that's it. I'm not going to go too in depth because it's virtually the same phone, just a weaker processor. So is it worth it to save the $120 to get the 710? It depends. If you play games, if you edit a lot of videos, 4K videos, then no, I would say you might as well either get the OnePlus 6 or you just spend a little bit more and just skip the 710, just get the Snapdragon 845 edition. But if you don't play games, if you just want a phone that's almost bezel-less with a really beautiful design, then the Vivo Nex A, it's worth considering because you're saving like $120 over the top tier Nex, and all you're missing out is a little bit of graphic processing power for heavy games like that. If you're playing a more basic game, like you're playing Sonic Dash or something, you're not even see a difference at all. One last thing, the problem with the custom launcher is still here. You need a Vivo account to install Nova Launcher. If you try to install Nova Launcher without a Vivo account, it won't stick. It'll just jump back to Vivo's FunTouch software. And FunTouch, I mean, I don't like it, but I can deal with it. My biggest pet peeve is it's very hard to move the icons around. Like you have to long press on icons longer than usual just to move it around. For some reason, I'm used to other phones where it's a lot easier. So when I move, I always accidentally move the screen when I'm trying to move an app icon. But otherwise, this is the Vivo Nex A. I would say watch my Vivo Next video to get a more in-depth impression of this phone, because I'm obviously just skimping through all the features because it's basically the same phone as the Vivo Next. Thanks for watching.